Hello, and welcome to another Myths and Stories, a Destiny 2 lore podcast. Uh, I'm still in my new space, my new office. It's awesome, and I hopefully have helped cancel some of the echo for Myth to not have to worry about editing too much. Uh, Last week episode, we finished out our history of the Elixni, and now this is our final episode of the year. Myth, we made it.
We did. It's
We
amazing.
we we got all the way to the end. It's I'm so excited. This is amazing. Yeah, so we wanted to do something kind of special for our last episode. We've done episodes like what we're going to do tonight before, but the ones that we've done before have been in like almost like a prediction style. This is going to be more of a reaction style. So the new season came out. What is it? Almost been 2 weeks now. A little over a week and a half.
Yeah.
So we've had two weeks worth of seasonal story. We've had a new dungeon come out. We've had obviously a ton of new weapons, ton of new armor, all sorts of really cool new things to experience. The Dawning's active, Moments of Triumphs is active. There's a lot to do in Destiny right now, so we're gonna focus tonight specifically on the story beats that are happening in the final season of the Witch Queen. That being the current season. Is it just called Season of the Seraph?
I think so. Season of the Seraph, yeah.
Season of the Seraph, which is hilarious because one of our clan members is Seraphim, and so he keeps thinking it's his season, and we're like, no, it's. I mean, it is. It's literally named after you, so yeah, we get it, but it's not. Yeah, but yeah, so we're gonna look into that. Obviously, we're gonna go over the new dungeon. There's like. I have so many questions for Myth about this one because I didn't do any of my homework, mainly because I was sick for a week and it sucked.
You have an excuse this time.
This is true. Normally I just don't do my homework. Now I don't do my homework and then create an excuse for why I didn't do my homework. This is like high school all over again. So yeah. So Myth. Let's start off. With the season itself. Season of the Seraph. What's happening? What's going on? Who are the major players?
Yeah, so we're not going to go over, verbatim what's happened in the 2 weeks worth of story because we kind of figure everyone's playing it. But the general beats are this season is all about Rasputin and Clovis Bray. So Anna has been in the background since Beyond Light, really.
Holy cow. Yeah, Arrivals.
Yeah,
when they packed up all the planets.
Yeah, so she has been since then trying to take the fragmented data of the nearly erased Rasputin that she stored into an engram. She's been trying to upload that into an exoframe, trying to give him some new form of life, and has just been hitting wall after wall after wall, and it is not making any progress. And is finally approached by the recently awoken Osiris, who had these visions during his awakening from his coma from Savathun of this colony on Neptune, which we know as Neomuna from the Lightfall campaign marketing material. But no one else knows it exists, and he is convinced that this thing is out there. It's important. Savathun knew about it and knew it was important. We need to find it. The only thing that could remember where it was or could help us try and locate this colony is Rasputin. We really need Rasputin. And additionally, the Vanguard is very interested in getting Rasputin back for military purposes because they know the Witness is coming too. So this has really put pressure on Anna to get this done. Osiris is trying to help her as much as he can. And eventually it comes down to the person that needs to assist putting Rasputin's mind in an exo is the person that created exos, and that is Clovis Bray. who still lives as an AI in the Braytech facility on Europa.
And as our local gunsmith.
And a version of him exists as Banshee. That is a story for another day.
That
but
is.
So we arrive on Europa, find that Clovis is under attack, defend him, and end up transporting his AI brain, his data from Europa over into the helm in this exo body, so that he can assist with the upload and rebuilding of Rasputin.
Okay. So all right, I've got questions. I swear I wrote them down. I wrote them down in my mind, and that is a dangerous place to store things. So I'll start with kind of some simple one. I guess some simple ones. First off, is Clovis Bray, is he no longer being housed on Europa now then? So he's been fully downloaded, and he is now residing in that exo at the helm, correct?
That is the impression I got, because after Anna took him out of the giant exo head on Europa, like we see data stream coming from that head to an engram that she's holding.
Yep.
Which I guess is like their version of a flash drive.
Well, right, and we talked about it before. Like, what is an engram? It's another state of matter, like water, like air, or gas, liquid, solid. Is another state of matter. It's just the data state of matter. So it can freely. I feel like it could flow like water or air.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it works as a solid currently.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But so she, after that point, that Clovis head never has interactions with us again.
Because there's a few times where we're doing a mission, like I think one of the heist missions, we run past him, and he's talking, but none of the lights or anything on the head are lighting up or anything.
No, and when he's speaking, it's like the automated, alert kind of voice,
right.
Kind of messages. So it may be in his voice, but it's not. It does not appear to be his higher functioning consciousness.
It's like over comms type thing, or something like that, right? Yeah. Okay.
So I think for all intents and purposes, Clovis is in the exo body.
So I guess that's that kind of brings up a secondary question: is that a good or a bad thing? Right. Like, is it good that he is no longer on the main facility? Basically, hit what has been his home for centuries. Is it good that he's no longer in that facility? But I feel like 90% of that facility is probably automated, and Lord knows he's got backdoor security to everything. So he's just because his consciousness is in a new spot, or his AI mind is in a new spot, doesn't mean that he doesn't have access to it.
Right. And I don't know that I don't think he was doing anything in that facility. Like, he wasn't running anything in that facility.
Right.
I think it was purely just he was hidden away in there. Clovis, and this is something I want to address. That's kind of a prediction, I suppose. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, Clovis is going to betray us to the witness. Clovis is going to betray us to the witness. So. He was the first one.
Or he's going to just completely like wipe out the war mind stuff. Like, he was always against the war, not against the war mind, but he always thought exos were the future of humanity. Whereas like Anna was all about war mind can help too. But I feel like he's going to like wipe out the war mind, like just completely, just be like, erase, done. Now I'm the savior. Now I'm the god of humanity.
I don't think he's ever been against the war minds. He has been against Anna teaching the war minds to have thoughts or feelings. He sees their role as computer programs. They have an input, they have an output, right, and there is no emotion involved.
The same way he sees hive magic. It's all because there's a few times during the missions, I think it was this week, where he's like, you see crystals and magic. All this is frequencies of this and da 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 da. And so he's like explaining it almost in a scientific sense. So he really does just see it as another tool, as another piece of machine, equipment, whatever.
Yeah, he sees the want to teach a war mind emotions as a frivolous, unneeded function. So I don't think he's going to betray us to the witness, and I don't think he's going to wipe out the Warmind for the sole reason of he is too much of a selfish bastard who cares about his legacy to do that. Like, if he betrays humanity to the witness, all of his work is gone. All his name means nothing because there's no one there.
There's no humanity. There's no nothing. Right. There's no soul system.
There's no one there to care about it anymore.
Exactly. So now, so at that point in time, then who's the father of all humanity or anything like that? Yeah. No, that's at that point, who cares? It's all gone.
And the same thing with the Warmind. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't want the Warmind to have, emotions necessarily. He wants it to be a does what it's told kind of thing. But
sure,
he cares that the Warminds are associated with the Bray name, and he doesn't want them to go away.
Yes,
because that devalues him.
Exactly. I think that is the bigger picture there of the fact that Warmind is associated with Bray. Just even the name Bray. It's Bray Tech, Bray whatever. The fact that it is associated with Bray is that prestigiousness to himself. Like, he's that much of a pompous, like, full of himself asshole that's just like, that's got my name on it. I'm the greatest. Suck it, world.
So in a very strange way, I really think Clovis is too egotistical to betray us.
I can see it. I can definitely agree with that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to fully commit to that idea. I think there's still like a little inkling, like he's obviously got some sort of plan of his own going on.
Oh yeah. I don't think he's going to just do what we want him to do, but he's not going to doom humanity, or at least not intentionally.
Exactly. Because like during some of the missions, he's like, "Oh, we've got to get my plan. I mean, our plan going." And then like later on, he's like, "Yeah, I've got to get my progeny. I mean, our project or what." Like he's constantly correcting himself between my and our, and so like he's clearly got something going on. But I think you're right. I don't think it's super crazy. Okay, so that brings me to question number 2. We know we've had a few interactions with Mara as well. What's the significance of Mara being part of the story beat?
So we haven't had a lot of Mara enter the main kind of narrative line in the season yet. But she seems to mostly be kind of keeping an eye on the system in general, because she's the one that's directing us. And to back up for a second, the way they're rebuilding Rasputin is there are submines. So when Rasputin had his shutdown or had his meltdown, his mind was partitioned off into these various subminds. So you can think of these as all little pieces of Rasputin. Like, honestly, it's not exactly accurate, but the way to think about it is like the what was that movie, Inside Out, where it's like all the emotions are a different person.
Oh yeah.
Same kind of thing. All of these little subminds are a different part of Rasputin, but they're all individual while they're separated.
Now that portion of it was a little bit retconned back in D1, right? Because there was there was this talk of like this Charlemagne submine, which I think we go and visit that. I think that's the current week's mission is to go reconnect that, which I was like, if they don't include Charlemagne, like that's a giant middle finger to the community. I feel like they have to include that as one of the ones. I was a little weirded out that it wasn't the first one, because I can't even remember the first one, like Maharaja or
it was a name I can't pronounce.
I'm butchering it, but yeah, so like because originally that in D1 we found something like that, and they're like, oh, it's a second Warmind thing, but then like Bungie was like, no, we just want one Warmind. So it was a submind, and it named itself. Yeah, it's a little bit of tomfuckery there, but yeah, so all the different subminds. That's what we're trying to connect back to him right now to hopefully get essentially a I like to call it like a base build of Rasputin back together, like just a good clean rebuild.
Yeah, they're reloading re-imaging Rasputin at this point.
I was gonna say image because I knew you knew exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, a base image of Rasputin.
That gold master.
There it is. There it is.
But so Mara has been the one keeping an eye on enemy movements and has thus far been the one directing us to, hey, there's enemies at this old Seraph bunker. There's enemies at this old Seraph bunker, and kind of giving us indications of where these submines may be hiding. And in addition to that, she is also keeping a eye on Shivu Arath, because Shivu was kind of the main antagonist-ish in Season of the Lost. Shivu is responsible for all of the Techians that were taken, that we saved during Season of the Lost. Shivu also responsible for, it sounds like, a majority of the military forces that are coming with the Witness are going to be under the direction of Shivu. And, Mara has a bit of an axe to grind with her, and, keeping an eye on her informs us as to how close the Witness's forces are. So she's been doing reconnaissance on Shivu Arath and kind of the main bulk of their military force, to hold them up as much as they can in the background, as well as keep us informed as to how close they are.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Mara's main dealings in this story.
Thus far,
the other main character that we've got kind of floating around, who kind of came out of nowhere at the end of last season, Osiris.
Yep.
He's awake. He's fully garbed up. He's like, let's go Guardian go, or something. I don't know. Maybe he's got a cool saying. But he's not exactly a light bearer anymore. He's not exactly immortal.
Nope.
Which he makes very apparent during this, like some of the post mission dialogues, where he's like, take some time, like sit down and smell the tea, and yeah, he's very maybe not regretful. Maybe a little regretful.
I mean, he's very aware that he has a time limit now.
Yeah.
And this is someone that has lived since the Dark Ages, has lived for hundreds of years at least, has spent a large majority of those years, at least in the presence of or nearby, a loved one in the form of Saint. And now this is somebody that is staring down the barrel of an end, an inevitable end.
Yeah. Like just of life. Like that's it, natural life. It's not you're not an undead zombie anymore. You're like, what? It's so odd, because this is probably the first, I can't think of any other Guardian that has had their light taken away and is still around afterwards. Like usually, like, light's taken away, they die their final death, that's it, game over. So this is really just it's unknown territory for Osiris.
Yeah, I mean, there's Eris, I suppose, but she is a bit of a unique case. She's supplemented in some other ways.
Yeah, I equate her craziness to Ahamkara wishfuckery.
Yeah,
is what that is. That's the only reason she's still not, like, I feel like she could go toe to toe with a Guardian and then she would just pop back up. But I think it's whatever that wish was of, I need to get out of the hell pit, the hell mouth, to now, like whatever that wish that happened there. I think that magic is still going, or that's what's keeping her around. Maybe she's eternally tied to darkness. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the other thing that's on Osiris's mind is this place. He keeps mentioning Neptune and how Savathun, it showed him to him. It's important. He's got to go find it. And that's kind of like his whole. That's why he comes to Anna. And he's like, Rasputin knows where it is. Like, we've got to get Rasputin up and running. So I've got a couple of questions there. One, what the hell is what's this importance here? Obviously, outside of the game, as far as marketing material, we know this as Neomuna, on Neptune, the Cloud City, all that stuff. But what's the significance there of him being like he's really really adamant about this?
So Osiris, we know from the last season's cutscene where Osiris wakes up that he had memories of Savathun when he woke up. And in those memories was Savathun's knowledge of this colony on Neptune. And I don't know that specifically stated, but Savathun was considered that colony of extreme importance in the upcoming battle with the Witness. And so Osiris is now seeing this as like, this is this hidden little piece of information that could drastically change the course of this upcoming battle. And I think part of it is not only this desperation of like, this will help us win, this will help us keep people safe. It's also a bit of desperation of I'm still relevant. I still have information no one else has. And he's like he always has, trying to prove his theories as to like, there's this big bad coming. Somebody please listen to me because we can prevent it or we can make it easier.
I mean, that's how he's always been. Like
Yep.
That was the whole thing with the entire Infinite Forest and why he even left the tower in the first place. Oh my God. I never looked at it like that, but that's absolutely, is Osiris kind of an arrogant ass?
Well, I mean, he introduces himself to Clovis as has no equal. So
has no equal. Yeah. Yeah. He's the two of them in the same room is kind of like,
yeah,
pot meet kettle. How you doing? Yeah. But yeah, so he's we gotta I guess we gotta do what he says.
Yeah. And that unless you've got another question you want to talk about right now.
I can't think of any major questions for the story as far as what we've seen so far. Like I said, it's the main bulk of it is just been like the whole is Clovis even housed there on Europa anymore, and does it matter? What's the deal with Mara and then Osiris? Like we've never seen these three players on the same stage at the same time, and so to have all three of them together is just kind of, I don't want to say it's weird. It felt a little disjointed. Yeah. But then for the way that you're explaining it, we're like, oh, well, this is part of the bigger puzzle. And each of these pieces have that bigger bigger piece of the bigger puzzle that they're playing, and it's all feeding together. So that's making a lot more sense now to me.
And that is really what I think we're looking at is, these are all characters that we've interacted with, as in like they're kind of all doing their own thing. They live in the same universe, but they're all doing separate things. But now they're all at risk. And so by nature of a solar system level threat, they have to start talking to each other. They have to start working with each other. And we've seen some of the trailers and stuff show pictures of Mara talking to Keitel and Osiris. And we're going to see more and more of these individuals start to cross paths as they work on their different spaces of the war.
Are we forming a Justice League?
I don't know if a Justice League, because it's not. There's individuals that
we'll go with the Avengers. It's fine. That's the better cinematic anyway.
Okay. I feel like that misses the point, but okay.
This is true. It absolutely does. But yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like every single person of every major player of the Destiny universe. And I think it all really started with Savathun, right? Like her coming, the entire Witch Queen campaign, and her coming into play and saying, "Hey, we need to hide the Traveler away. We need to. The whole light and dark thing. We just need to null the field and say the best way to play this game is to stop playing." And for her to come out that way about the entire situation between light and dark, and for us to go, oh, but wait, we like the Traveler. Traveler good, right?
Yeah, we
So
need
now
that.
it's we need that. Yeah, we can put that back. So yeah, so it's very much like she definitely, I feel like, is the main catalyst to bring all the people together and go, okay, if this is happening and we still want to kind of live the way we live type thing, now we all have to work together. We all have to play this bigger part in this bigger stage for the soul system. So yeah, so that's kind of our little reactionary thing to the season. Myth, you had some lore entries and some stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to go over some readings tonight. And I think actually the best place to start, since we were just talking about Osiris and kind of these different characters coming across each other, is going to be the seasonal armor sets, which is the Warmind's Avatar set. And all of the entries are the same across all the different classes.
I think they've started doing that with all the seasons, it seems like.
Yeah, it seems to be that way for certain things, at least. It kind of flip-flops, to be honest.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll separate them, sometimes they won't. But this time they didn't. So I'm going to be reading from the Warlock set.
Because Warlock is literally the best class.
Yes, of course. No question.
Exactly. I have no equal.
Wow, fuck.
Oh, shit.
Well, he's not a warlock anymore. It doesn't matter.
Oh, man. So, like, what is he? Like, he still wears sun bracers.
He's just a dude.
He's just a dude in a robe.
He's just the eccentric old guy that wears Egyptian robes and burning gloves to work.
Right? Like, he just cosplays to work.
Yep.
That's it. Oh my God. Is he a cosplayer now? Is he just cosplaying as a Guardian now?
Oh no.
Dude, we have so many fun theories here about Osiris, and it's such an unknown now. This is such an unknown space that we can just be like, this is what it is now. Like, I'm so excited to see where his story's going.
I am too. So without further ado, we're going to start in on this Warmind seasonal set that is focused on Osiris and some of the struggles he is dealing with, being, coming out of this coma, considering the conditions that put him in it in the first place, Savathun's possession of him, and why he is so insistent on looking into this colony. So we're going to start with the Warmind's Avatar headpiece, and the lore card goes like this. He is not compromised. Saint Vortein's voice echoes off the walls of Ikora's study. It would be hoarse if he weren't an exo. They've been arguing for over an hour. Ikora crosses her arms over her chest. We can't know that for sure. You can't, Saint fires back, but I can. I see it in him. The frustration, the guilt, the pain. Osiris is telling the truth about his visions. I don't doubt that he is, Ikora replies, a note of frustration creeping into her own voice. But my hidden turned their eyes to Neptune and found nothing. I can't ignore the possibility that Savathun planted those visions in his head to misdirect us. So you ignore his warnings instead? Saint asks pointedly. Send your spies for a quick glance and then bury your findings in a drawer? Is every word Osiris speaks forever tainted by the Witch Queen? Ikora says nothing in response. The silence drags on until Saint grumbles to himself and turns to leave. Saint, Ikora calls after him, warmer than before. Osiris needs to rest. Please, keep an eye on him. Why? Saint asks without looking back. I'm sure your hidden have enough eyes on him as it is. And he leaves before Ikora can say another word. Alone in her study, she reaches into a drawer and pulls out a stack of papers. Documents she had once been ordered to destroy, but instead preserved. Osiris's prophecies, from a time when she trusted his every word. And that's the end of that one.
I think that's one thing that we always have to remember between Osiris and Ikora. Osiris was Ikora's teacher.
Yeah.
And Ikora, not just teacher, mentor, Ikora really looked up to Osiris, and because that, like, when he left the city the first time, like, he had all these prophecies, he had all these things, and it's tough to look at that, but then to know, like, and she says it right there too, like Savathun had a hold of him. Like, we don't know, like, we really can't be fully, the fact that she is the god of trickery, we really can't be 100% on anything. You know, like, maybe she was just showing him those visions to screw with him, to screw with us. Like, we had no idea that she fully became a guardian until we walked in and saw her ghost. We had no idea about some of these things. And so it's tough on that side. But then it's also like looking at Saint's side, right? Like, Saint, very trusting, has finally got him back. Like, it's I mean, this is the first time that they've been able to be together for like years. I mean, Saint was lost in the Infinite Forest for God knows how long, or I guess technically dead. I don't know. Time is a weird thing in with Vex. But yeah, like, it's like it's very frustrating on both sides. I can see the headbutting there that's happening, and then again, like, you know, with Saint's frustration at the end, like, you've got your eyes on everyone anyway. Like, why don't you go check them out? Like, at some point in time, I think the two of them. But I mean, Saint's also kind of like he's a bit of a, I don't want to say stubborn, but he's a little bit hard. He's a stubborn titan.
Yeah.
Like, he'll headbutt a Kel like it's nothing. So yeah, like, he can be a little stubborn himself. So I can see the hesitation on both sides. I can see the warrant for, like, hey, maybe we're a little cautious at looking at this. I also definitely look at, like, this whole thing of, like, hey, is Neomuna the new Wakanda, if we're going to keep these Marvel references going? Like, hey, it's over there, and then they go show up, and, oh, there's nothing there. But then later we find out, oh, it's got the greatest technology in the entire universe. Oh, well, it's right at the back door. There it is.
I mean, that seems pretty accurate, actually, from what we've seen so far.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little ridiculous, but yeah. Hey, you don't break what ain't fixed, right? Like, that's not it. Anyway, okay, so we have this interaction there between and again, it's very much one of frustration on both sides.
Yeah. And you know, Ikora is not the only one that has concerns about, you know, Osiris's how reliable the information he has is, how much they can trust him at this point. Osiris himself, it has the same questions, and we see some of that in the gloves. So the Warmind's avatar gloves that follow Osiris now, and they go like this. Osiris pulls the hood of his oversized cloak forward, though he hopes to pass through the Batsa district unnoticed. The sharp beak protruding from his shadowy hood betrays his disguise. Elixni passerby stare at him with suspicion. The erstwhile warlock slips into a darkened corner of the ether tank, where the barroom floor bustles with both human and Elixni gamblers, who wager whether the Warmind Rasputin will be restored, and how many civilians it will kill if revived. On the far side of the room, Spider lords over the scene with satisfaction. Osiris watches him, intent on finding a way to discreetly question him regarding Neptune. The Elixni crime boss has cultivated a different set of informants than the Hidden, and Osiris needs intel from the widest net possible. Suddenly, Osiris feels the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Though he no longer has his light, centuries of training have left his intuition as sharp as ever. He merges into a crowd of karaoke enthusiasts and surveys the room. Standing just inside the tavern entrance is another cloaked figure, though their disguise is far more plausible than his own. Osiris can clearly identify the Praxic warlock, Anur Mahal. Osiris curses under his breath. He retreats through the back entrance into the chill of the night, and he feels the darkness close in around him and wonders who among his former allies still trusts him. Given everything, he wonders whether he should still trust himself. And that's the end of that card.
So now, obviously, we've had interactions. Well, I don't know if we, the player, have had interactions with Anor. I know we've had lore entries with him, and he was the whole, like, when we did the whole split with, like, do we trust the Drifter, do we trust the Vanguard? Like, he was part of that as well.
She, I think.
She, right? Yeah. Correct. Yes. The Praxic Order, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is another set of warlocks that came about after Osiris had left, because when he first left, you had, like, the entire, like, cult of Osiris, and, like, that's the whole reason why Brother Vance is even Brother Vance. But then there were different orders as well that all studied different things, because the warlocks are all about, like, the knowledge of the universe, the why or the how, not necessarily the pure military, or, like, punch it, see if crayons taste good.
Yeah. So the Praxic Order is an organization of warlocks specifically that was founded along the same timeline as the last city. So they actually came into power shortly after the city came about.
Like the beginning of the city age.
Yes. Yeah. And their whole purpose is they are kind of the self-proclaimed keepers and gatekeepers of artifacts related to the darkness. Their whole purpose is to essentially, they are Area 51. They are the ones that gather up these artifacts that are considered dangerous and squirrel them away so that no one can get their hands on them and, like, prevent them from causing more issues.
So they would and the fact that Osiris was kind of brought back by darkness, like, they would have a vested interest in watching him pretty closely.
And Anor is a pretty hard-nosed member of the Praxic Order. Like,
she's very by the books.
Yeah, she has spoken out vehemently against stasis and the use of stasis in the, like, collector's edition of Witch Queen. She is the one that was investigating Drifter because he has, you know, some ties to dark powers there and control over the Taken. And so, yeah, she is very much a, like, light good, dark bad, there is no in between, is really kind of where she stands.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, and I like Osiris's thought pattern here. Like, well, if nobody's going to seem to believe me, maybe I need to find more information. If I can get more eyes on something, or more kind of like that old, like, two heads are better than one type thing. Like, the broader I can cast that net of questioning, maybe I can get more knowledge or more understanding. And maybe, I mean, Spider's as good a place as any to try to find it. But like you said, like, at the very end there, like, even he's questioning himself. He's to see that Anor is already there, like, following him. It's like, okay, yeah, even he can see why. So,
and we can see kind of the continuation of the interactions between those two in the robes for this set. So the robes go like this. Construction scaffolding casts geometric shadows across damp alleyways. Work is still being done to repair the damage caused by Gaul's invasion, and it is here, in this place, where rats scurry in the absence of citizens, where Osiris lies in wait. He had been here once before, nestled in a crack at the foot of the Schnell building, cupping his hands to his face to hold back the dark tide of necrotic fluid pulsing from his... No, No, that was Savathun. But still, the shadows remember him, and he remembers their embrace. Osiris stirs from his reverie the moment his pursuer enters the alley. He can see her shadow cast across the wall, penned in by the scaffolding's negative space. It is an optical illusion of a prison, a trick of the eye. Anur Mahal notices the configuration and appreciates the symbolism of walking into a spider's web. Just before, Osiris lunges from the darkness, grabbing her by the collar of her robe to slam her against the opposite wall. Anur grunts on impact, her gaze trailing down to Osiris's trembling hands holding fistfuls of fabric. While his stare is ferocious, his strength is lacking. She lets him hold her there against the wall, and the moment he realizes he's being pitied, Osiris releases her and takes a step back. Your mind is still sharp, Anur opines. It stings his pride, makes his jaw clench. What did you think was going to happen next? I'm not going to fight you. She looks him up and down. It wouldn't be sporting. I remember the day you were raised, Osiris says with hushed strength. Curled up beneath a ruined bus, screaming for help. Too terrified to listen to your ghost, too frightened to hold the gun it had nudged under the wreck for you. Anur sucks in a breath through her teeth and smooths the front of her robe. I'm not here to hunt you, she clarifies. I'm here to keep you safe. The implied from yourself was not spoken, and to that Osiris has no retort. He reconsiders his surroundings and his actions and shrinks away with regret. And that's the end of that card.
That's a that's a bummer. I'm thinking of Anor during that interaction, and like how like she's very much the stronger of the two.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, she still has the light.
That was literally she lets him hold her there, and like, and then he realized it, and he's like, this is fucking stupid. Like he's even pissed. Like it's but then like for her to have like these little like, hey, look, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to like try like almost too easily saying that she's trying to help, and then you know him just kind of retorting back like, I remember when you were just this little new light, little blueberry new lights hiding under a bus, didn't even want to pick up a gun, trying to run around, hide from everything, crying for help. You know what are you now? Like it's this life that he is living now is a very hard existence, and that's why I say like when I think about Osiris now, he is such an unknown. There's like, can he die? I mean he can die, but like, will he age and die?
Right.
What is his strength? Like, I mean, like we theorized during what was it, a couple episodes back, or no, our little short on the end of season thing, that he would be like the first darkness guardian, like the first strand user, and it just like, I don't know, like maybe maybe this is one of those catalysts that like he goes to find more strength, like he wants to be the strong know-it-all in the room, like. I don't know, man.
I could see that.
This is a really tough existence for him.
Yeah. So we see his interactions with a few other people. So clearly Anor and the Praxic Order have their eyes on him because of the role of darkness in his revival. And, you know, wanting to protect him from himself, as well as, you know, they could very easily, in a order as black and white as they are, could very easily see anything he says as like potentially tainted or trying to intentionally lead them into a bad position in this upcoming war. So very, very distrusting on all sides, really, so far. But we see Osiris interact with another old guardian, perhaps just as old as him, if not more so, in the Warmind's avatar, Pants. And that one goes like this. Every instinct tells Osiris to fight, and yet... I'm glad you could make it, is the warm greeting that Saladin Forge gives to Osiris as he steps into a study aboard the Ascendancy flagship. Cabal architecture blends with rustic human furnishings that would not look out of place in the Iron Temple. Tea is already steeping when Osiris joins Saladin at the table. The aroma of black Assam bring back an ancient sense memory. I assume your tastes haven't changed much, Saladin says, gesturing to the tea. Did Ikora ask you to check on me? Osiris asks, and realizes how defensive it sounds the moment it leaves his mouth. He masks his bitter regret by taking a sip of the too-hot tea. No, I wanted to check on an old friend. Saladin sits forward, cradling his own cup without lifting it from the table. But I see you survived a lightless encounter with not one, but 2 hive gods. I'd say you're doing better than most. The pride in Saladin's voice makes Osiris's stomach turn, not out of uneasiness, but out of shame. And yet Saladin's certainty isn't patronizing. It's not in his nature to be so. You're content here, Osiris deflects. Among the Cabal? Saladin shrugs away the question. Contentment is a luxury neither of us can afford. I am here. That is what matters. My place is here now, and humanity is better for it. A moment of silence hangs over the two, and Saladin is the first to brave that space. How long has it been since you and I took tea together? I can't even remember, Osiris says. So long ago that it feels like a dream. And then quieter. Yolder was there. Saladin says nothing, focusing instead on his rippling reflection in the teacup. I should not have mentioned her name, Osiris adds softly. No, Saladin's response is swift and firm. I don't want Yolder's memory to fade like so many others. It may hurt to remember, but the pain reminds us that we lived. And that's the end of that one.
Man. That's whew. That was a bit of a rough one at the end. Man, okay. Well, so this made me think of 2 things. One, Osiris. Well, no, because he had all of his memories from the time that he was
Right.
under. I was starting to think that like to Osiris, this is such an odd thing. Like when he came out of his coma, now there's Cabal walking in the streets and Elixir walking in the streets, and he's like, "Where's my gun?" Like the whole time he was under, that's when we formed these alliances and had these peace treaties. I don't know what to call them. Like,
well,
but yeah,
and those alliances and peace treaties were accomplished in no small part by Savathun in his body.
Yeah, like he was the catalyst for those, or I guess Savathun was the catalyst for those.
Right.
So I mean, even Savathun, God, she is some kind of fuckery. Like she is okay. Yeah, no, I like this. I like this little interaction of like, and this is something that I keep, I don't know, forgetting or not really realizing. Iron Lords were still guardians, right? Like they were still risen.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were no Iron Lords that were just like, oh, I'm a dude with a sword.
No. Like Iron Lords existed to combat the Warlords, at least
Right.
at first, and the Warlords were all light bearers, so you had to kind of fight fire with fire.
Exactly. So yeah, for some reason, for a second there, I was thinking, oh well, maybe Osiris is coming to him because like some of the Iron Lords were not, but they were all, yeah. But yeah, I do like this one with it's it's that like two people that are kind of like out of place, and they like are like I feel like Osiris is coming to him like, do you feel like you fit? And Osiris himself is trying to figure out, do I fit?
Yeah.
Like that to me is the big like the big message here of like somebody trying to figure out, do I fit? How do I fit? Like what do I do in this new space that exists around me? It's again, it comes back to like Osiris is living a very hard life right now, and any type of answers are very much welcomed, as well as just a time to spend with a familiar face and a familiar person. And then of course the mentioning of Yulner and but again, I like Saladin's response to that of the, no, I don't want their memories just like thrown away to the wayside. Like, yeah, it sucks, they're gone, but we don't want to forget about them.
Right.
That makes me smile.
Yeah. So we're going to end out the armor sets lore cards with the Warmind's Avatar Bond. And I'm going to give you a preemptive get tissues ready.
Fuck me. God damn it.
Not in a sad way, at least, but you'll see.
All right. Shit. Okay. I've got a hold of the desk on both sides. I'm good. No, I'm not. No.
This one goes like this. Data pads are stacked atop handwritten field reports, stacked again upon leather-bound tomes. They rest in a spot of sunlight spilling through a round window draped with linen curtains, dyed sunset hues, and framed by crawling ivy and wisteria. Osiris stoops over the table, half in the beam of afternoon light and half out. An audio log plays on one of the tables with subtitles to translate the speaker's tongue. It states, atmospheric composition, hydrogen, helium, methane. Scans show no active structures or civilizations. Osiris clenches one hand into a trembling fist and then scrubs forward in the log. Starship transit corridors near planetary body are non-existent. Lack of habitation ideal for concealing civilian fleet. No signs of prior human habitation. Cursing, Osiris sweeps the tablet off the table, along with the books and notes. A scream rises from his mouth, and as he turns in rage, he locks eyes with Saint. Fury burns away to a cool ember of shame the moment Saint steps from the kitchen doorway. His partner is not dressed in armor, a sight few ever see. Instead, his broad shoulders are concealed by a loose poncho of magenta and lilac, bearing embroidered bird patterns spun by Elixni hands. Saint approaches and gently cups Osiris's face in his hands. The gesture causes the tension to melt away, and Osiris rests a cheek against his fingers. "Why are you so angry?" Saint asks, his voice gentle and reassuring. It isn't so much a question as it is an exercise. "I am afraid," Osiris whispers into Saint's palm, "that Ikora is right, that I'm... It takes time for Osiris to make his fear real with words, but Saint gives it to him. That I'm broken. Saint pulls Osiris to his chest with a firm embrace, and then presses a kiss to the top of his head. You are not a teacup, he whispers against the shorter man's scalp. People do not break, and you are not broken. Osiris rests his forehead against Saint's chest, at once feeling humbled and secure. The embrace lingers for as long as Osiris needs it, and when he finally does lean back enough to look up into Saint's eyes, he asks, Then what am I? To which Saint simply replies, You are enough. And that's the end of that one.
Oh. Okay. All right. Not as oh, okay. Not as bad as I thought it would be, but
No.
oh, that's sweet. You're not a teacup. I'm gonna tell my wife that next time she says something like that. You are not a teacup. You cannot be broken. Oh, that's oh, I love their story.
I know.
I fucking love their story. God. Okay. All right. All right. Oh. But what am I? That's the question back, right? Like, but what am I? You are enough is like, in that sense, yes, that those are the exact words that Osiris needs to hear. But at the same time, there's still that lingering question of like, what am I? Like yeah, such an apt question.
There's a lot of weight behind it.
Yeah, there is.
But
okay.
So that's kind of, that's Osiris's mind space. That's he is untrusted on all sides, kind of treated as a unreliable source of information. Whereas before he was, again, he has always been very, even when others didn't believe it, he's always been very sure of his own beliefs. And now he's in a situation where others are not necessarily believing him, but even he doesn't know anymore if he can be sure of himself.
Can't really walk in the room with like, I have no equal anymore.
Well, he can say it, but I don't know if he believes it anymore.
Right. Like I think that's the crazy thing too, is like, if that's the way you've lived your life and believed yourself to be that for literal centuries, it's hard to undo that.
But so we're going to discuss a few other seasonal lore cards that are not necessarily part of a bigger story like the Osiris set there was, but are just kind of little one-offs about like, what are other people doing right now, either in preparation for the war or people interacting that have not interacted before, and kind of give you a little view into what's happening outside of the immediate story. And so for those, we are going to the seasonal weapons. And the first one we are going to start with is Disparity, which is the seasonal pulse rifle. And in this one, we get to see the interactions between Shivu Arath and Clovis Bray.
What?
And it goes like this.
Okay.
Cadmus Ridge rests within the grip of a storm. Wind-whipped fragile ice scores the exposed superstructure of bygone ambition. Steel crumbles slowly to the hollowing blind. Sleet swarms like locusts pecking rust on skeletal decay. A patient war, inevitable, like entropy. The storm halts, as if detecting a predator on the wind. Quiet settles in the moment. A cloaked vandal stands, and the silhouette of their camouflage breaks against the stillness. A cloudburst splits the sky, turning the storm and sleet to a surge of needling rain that perforates the vandal. Soulfire rifts tear open to expel 3 gargantuan hive tomb ships. They slowly drift into formation, unthreatened, positioning themselves above Reese Reborn. From their hulls spew runes of black fire that meet between the ships and ignite into the projection of a bladed terrace, casting House Salvation's new home in shadow. It is as night, the distant light of the sun, choked from the sky, and a voice booms like thunder. Hear the din of rapture. Welcome me in your arms. Celebrate my arrival and know me again, for this world has always been mine. Deep within the Bray exoscience creation, Clovis Bray I rouses from infernal calculus. A maintenance coordination AI has signaled an emergency. What is it? Clovis demands. A monotone version of his own voice responds. Unknown craft have entered European airspace. How shall I respond? Broadcast my voice and arm the perimeter, Clovis orders. Affirmative. Ready upon speaking, the AI informs. Alien vessel, this is Clovis Bray. Identify yourself or be destroyed. The thunder, distant though no quieter, responds. I am war. And that's the end of that one.
Clovis is such a fucking pompous ass. Everything that facility speaks in his voice.
Yep. He literally only hears himself talk.
That's what I'm getting at. Like that, I literally just noticed, like, I had that realization when you said in his own voice it responds back monotone. I'm like, he programmed the entire facility to speak in him, isn't it? Like that's exactly what's happening. So wow, where does Clovis Bray end and Braytech facility begin? Like that's a man.
I think they're very intertwined, or he at least has access to everything.
Yeah. Wow. Who is that? That's what, I imagine like somebody coming to your front door with a loudspeaker of like, "Hey, what's going on in there?" And the guy inside going, "Who the hell is this?" And the guy outside going, "This is war." And then that's it. Like that's it. Like that's the end of the entire interaction. And the guy inside's left going, "What the fuck was that? What the hell is going on here?" Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty accurate. Although if you're in Reese Reborn, this has got to be a terrifying sight. These hive ships come through, blot out the sun, and just this thunderous voice.
Have no clue what the fuck's going on around them.
No.
Because the thundering voices come from both sides. Oh shit.
Oh,
these poor Lixney.
I know.
They just can't catch a break.
They really can't. But no, so Shivu is making her presence known to Europa, indicating that, she's coming, that she is coming to reclaim that which is hers, and is probably not going to take too kindly to Clovis or anyone trying to talk back to her.
I mean, what do the Hive do best? They turn moons into starships.
Yes, they do.
And Europa is just a moon. That's all it is.
Yep.
Just another starship to her.
So, but Clovis is not the only one that has a run-in with Shivu. We see another interaction with Shivu and her forces, and kind of an indication of what Mara has been up to, or what Mara has been having done with the Awoken people in the lore card for the Tripwire Canary. And that one goes like this. These are each messages from a special unit to presumably Mara or perhaps Petra. But the first message. Special Outfit 5 and Techian Yalya at Beacon 1. Anchorage established in the Ascendant Plane. Yalya is finding a way through the ley lines, Threat assessment of hive forces within Sol's ascendant borders in progress. We'll continue realignment to this thread for correspondence. Message 2. Special Outfit 5 has reached Beacon 2. Patrol reports 11 hive sightings, 1 wizard, 10 knights, no scavenging thrall or acolytes. They're establishing a perimeter on our borders, but we slipped through. Yalia says the plane is degrading again. We're getting close to a corruptive presence. Her ward is holding, and we've gone undetected. Team is dark for 6. Message 3. Beacon 3 is found compromised. They brought in a shrieker over us, blaring some horrid noise. Yalia's ward kept it from pinpointing us, but it knew we were there. 2 Corsairs injured in contact. Hive pursuing. Thread falling out of beacon range. Expect late realignment. The last message. Special Outfit 5 reporting. The landscape distorted into a climb to Beacon 4. Yalia's bridged a connection to send our injured home. I worried it would draw attention, but planar activity in the vicinity is so turbulent that it was more like shouting into the wind. Forward patrol notes an interior perimeter upwards of 70 shriekers, dozens of cryptoliths, and incoming battle caravans numbering the tens of thousands. My queen, wizards conjure the Black Terrace. Shivu-Arath's voice bends the plain. The war god is calling an army to her banner. Luna is in danger. And that's the end of that one.
Jesus. I mean, that's man. I think of this as like a power vacuum, right? Like the all these different throne worlds that each of the sisters had, they're all vacant now, and like the only one to even do anything with them is now Zebu. Like I feel like she has complete control here, but like all these shriek, like this is more than an army. This is an army on a scale that I don't think we've ever seen.
No.
Like this is enough to like cover the surface of the moon.
And Shivu is assembling all of this in the Ascendant Plane. So in those pocket dimensions that we were in during Season of the Lost, like that's what they're doing. They're traversing between these beacons that are kind of roadways within the Ascendant Plane, and they're finding, as they get further and further from us, further into the Ascendant Plane, they're seeing the army that's amassing, that is heading towards us.
We got a battle coming, man. With this,
yeah, we do.
Between Lightfall and Final Shape, man, I don't know, man. That's kind of I guess that kind of made me think of something for a second. Like if Lightfall is the witness coming, no, it can't be the witness coming in Lightfall, because then we'd still have all of Xivu-Arath and all of the Hive forces.
I think they've said that Lightfall is Xivu-Arath, and Callus.
And all of Callus's stuff, yeah.
So I think, again, the witness doesn't necessarily have their own battalion. I don't think. I think it's the witness is the head of the faction, and Shivu is like the military general. So I think her army is the witness's army.
Exactly. That was something I was kind of alluding to, and we the player, and I guess even you and I have talked about this before, way back in our Light and Dark series. Did we ever confirm that the witness is the winnower? Like, is this a 100% or is this like a 95% thing?
What we ended up with then in our Light and Dark series, and what I think is still the case now, is until we have evidence to suggest otherwise, we are assuming that they are the winnower, or what the winnower became when they entered our universe.
What he physically manifested in our universe as.
Yeah.
So essentially, if he could now, but in a universe that I guess he didn't create it, did he?
No, and if we go back to the unveiling book, which we talked about in our Light and Dark series, like they made the universe, and then the gardener introduced light, like
Right.
said essentially without
His own set of
asking
rules.
permission, said like,
Yeah.
we're gonna try something different, and he put light in, and so then they had their tussle, and they kind of like fell into the pot that the universe was being made
Right.
in, which then also brought the winnowers, dark as a force of the universe. um but yeah, there is some reference, and I've seen talks, debates online and whatnot. Savathun, during her, two truths, two lies dialogues,
Yeah.
um does make reference to the witness once being a member of a different race
Yep.
that was just consumed by darkness.
Yep. And that's kind of where I was getting at too. Is I think I want to say I played it last week, and it refreshed me on that one, on the two truths thing. And I remember the whole thing with the two truth thing is like both of them are lies essentially, or like we don't know which one is the lie and which one is, like, she gives everyone
Right.
two answers, and both answers contradict each other. And
Yeah.
so like but yeah, that's kind of like my ultimate, like, if the winner, if the witness is the winnower, I feel like he should have a hell of a lot more power, just raw power
Well,
over just everything.
to be fair, we haven't seen the
We haven't
winnower
seen him do anything.
anything yet.
Yeah, all we've seen is shifty hands.
Which, you
He
could
can do
say the same
shifty
of the
hands.
Traveler. Like, the Traveler hasn't
Oh
done
shit!
anything outside of,
We've
I
never
guess, make
seen
the
him
ghosts. But yeah,
do anything. We didn't even see him make the ghost. Do we even know the ghost came from him?
I mean, that's the story we're told. Is the
Oh my
ghosts were
god!
birthed by the Traveler in the, when the Traveler was wounded at the end of the collapse.
Yeah. Oh my god! But we don't know. We were dead.
Well, yeah.
Well, shit. Well,
So,
shit.
not to get too off track here, because it's
I know,
definitely
I
not.
squirreled there real fast. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, so needless to say, Shiva Wrath is coming with a sizable army, and Mara has, these little strike teams and scouting teams, specifically to kind of gauge it and keep an eye on it and try and keep her, and therefore us, informed of what's going on.
Yep.
But they are not the only ones that are having to deal with, the powers of the dark. There is some sketchiness happening even within the witnesses' ranks, and we see a very uncomfortable interaction in the Path of Least Resistance trace rifle. So that one goes like this. Aramis always looks scorn in the eye. She does it to assert dominance, was a rumor she once heard her subordinates say, and rather than correct them, she let it take root and grow wild and fierce. There is no one left that she trusts enough to share the truth. Aramis always looks scorn in their eyes because she's desperate to see some faint flicker of the Elixni they once were. The first time the witness presented her with Pyrrhus, with whom Aramis had fought alongside in life, she wills her expression into something that resembles steel. A gift, claimed the witness, but Aramis cannot find her voice, not even to feign gratitude. She reaches up and grazes claws against the side of the Elixni's face, and searches for any sign of her friend. Yet all she sees in Pyrrhus's eyes is her own reflection, glassy and alien. Aramis wants to scream, and part of her is grateful when Pyrrhus sinks teeth into the flesh of her forearm, giving her an excuse to do so. One that doesn't make her look weak. And that's the end of that one.
That's got to be tough. That really does. I mean, because man, That's that's yeah.
We talked in our our last episode and the episode before that like Aramis has that deep-seated need for revenge, or had. I don't know that she still
Yep.
does anymore.
I don't know what her motives are anymore.
But she also cared very deeply about her people.
Yeah.
And in the end, it ended up being where, revenge was 51% and the people were 49, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean she didn't care at all. And now she's kind of reaping what she sowed with making
Right.
dark choices. The witness is gifting her, quote unquote,
Yeah.
the undead soldiers made of her friends.
That's fucked up. I mean, but that's like you answer to him now. Like he gifted you
Yep.
stasis. Like what do you say? Oh, thanks, but no, I'm good, brah. Like I mean, it's like Christmas, right? Like you open a gift from grandma and it's socks and you're like, "Thanks, grandma. I love socks. These are great."
But I think the name of the weapon actually kind of is telling here. So the weapon is called the Path of Least Resistance. And I think
Yep.
Aramis, if she could redo some of the decisions that got her here, I think she would.
I mean, we talked about that. Like, what if she hadn't chosen darkness?
Right.
What if she had gotten a Reach Reborn and been like, fuck it, this'll work, and just stopped there?
Yeah. But I think at this point, like she has already decided that there's no going back for her. There's no redemption for her. And so she's just
right.
going to do what she's told because she
Yep.
knows eventually it's going to lead to her death. And that's kind of what I think she wants at this point.
That's like the ultimate release right there. I think you're right. I think she has finally realized that what she wanted before Beyond Light or before she came to Europa, like that died when whatever she wanted before them has died with all of her actions of Beyond Light.
Yeah.
And that's now it is just that, like, she doesn't want to just lay down and die, but then she's like, when death comes, I think she's gonna accept it willingly.
Yeah. So we've got two more weapons we're gonna go over. I'm gonna skip over the Judgment of Kelgorath. Essentially it's a glaive. It's just telling the story of Shivu taking Kelgorath, who I think was the original celebrant, and uplifting them into the new dark blade and gifting them with the glaive to signify that.
Gotcha.
It's an interesting one, but it's not necessarily like it's a lot of words to tell what we already know, and it's a character we've actually already killed in game now. So
yeah, they're dead.
Yeah,
they don't matter. No,
so instead,
that's sad.
So we're gonna jump ahead to the weapon titled Fire and Forget. And this is another kind of interesting pairing that honestly I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen before. This is Banshee and Ada 1 that are discussing some of the arsenal of the Guardians. So this one goes like this. Banshee 44 emits a low whistle as he watches stasis energy course through the rifle's internal conduits. 97% efficiency, he mutters to himself in wonder. This thing's state of the art. It certainly is, replies another exo voice behind him. Ada 1 peers over the gunsmith's shoulder, equally fascinated by the Braytech weapon. The Black Armory never developed a linear fusion rifle, she continues. Our forges lacked the necessary precision. LFRs are a special breed of gun, Banshee says. He turns his head and notices Ada focusing on the weapon. You ever want to take a crack at making one? Ada folds her hands in front of her, taking a moment to consider. No, she answers quietly. The forges were built out of fear. We thought that even in the Golden Age, humanity needed an arsenal to defend itself. But they created more conflict than they ever prevented. Weapons tend to do that, Banshee remarked knowingly. He meets Ada's eyes. You've never been reset. You remember everything after you first woke up? I do, she replies in a haunted voice. Every fallen raid, every warlord grasping for power. Banshee nods to himself and runs his hand over the contours of the rifle. I've been reset 44 times, he says. I forget about most of the guns I make. Don't know who uses them or what for. That sounds awful, Ada replies. Sometimes, Banshee admits. But between the two of us, maybe that makes me the lucky one. And that's the end of that one.
Are we gonna see a little Banshee Ada love?
I mean, certainly they can mutually respect good craftsmanship.
This is true. I like your words there. I was going way dirtier with that than I should have, especially when he was like, "Hey, you want to touch it?" Like, I was like, "What?" I was like, "Whoa, myth! What's happening here?"
There are subreddits for that. We will not discuss that.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Everyone needs somebody, and these are definitely two highly skilled engineers. Just admiring each other's work, and hey, if they hit it off, they hit it off. Everyone needs somebody, man.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a little Ada Banshee.
Moving on, we are going to go to the last weapon that we're going to discuss, last seasonal weapon, which is the Retrofit Escapade. It is the machine gun from the season, and this one is a little peek into what Anna and Elsie are up to. And it goes like this. This is it. This is where legends are made. Anna bellows into an enormous empty room lined with gloss-paneled walls. A single console rises from the floor. She turns to an underwhelmed Elsie. Shax would yell that whenever he stepped into a new Crucible arena. But now they're all simulated here. What else can it simulate? Elsie asks, hands at the console, mind open to possibilities. A lot of things, I guess. You have to tell it what to make, and the directions need to be pretty clear, like a blueprint, Anna explains. Do you remember... Elsie catches herself. Here, let me show you something. She pulls a thin cable from her wrist and inserts it into the console, uploading a blueprint of her own. The room digitizes briefly before solidifying into a small, nondescript sporting court. In place of the console is a countertop fitted with an oval disc of brass, etched with grooves forming orbital paths around a loose brass orb. This game is called Sakra, Elsie says, fingers deftly running along the grooves. She taps the orb, which ascends and floats to the middle of the room. Red lines fizzle into the air around it, each one tracing a different path. Elsie swipes a brass groove and a holographic pebble appears at her fingertips. That orb has its own gravity. You get 5 stones to throw into orbit. The goal is to align all 5 in a stack at an intersection point. Then they'll all fuse together. If they survive one orbit like that, you win. Anna taps her chin. Seems pretty heavy math. Math is one winning strategy. Rhythm is another, Elsie says. Striking an opponent's stone head-on destroys both. Anything else is just a nudge. All right, sis, buckle up, because I am going to kick your custom-made butt. Elsie cringes. Thinking you have some instinctual skills locked away? I fly a spaceship every day. I can do orbits. They play over and over, becoming increasingly competitive, increasingly matched. Still, each game ends in Elsie's favor, and each grates on Anna more than the last, until she howls in frustration. We can stop, Elsie offers. No, one more. They reset. The sisters trace orbital paths and send their pebbles along. On her fifth, Anna spots an opening and throws, and her stones align into a stack. I won! Anna bursts into the air amid a swirl of red. Elsie's eyes her slow-moving stone approaching the stack. Have you now? She points as her stone gently drifts into a collision course, hitting and scattering Anna's pebbles. Damn it! Anna sinks to the ground, pressing her face into her palms before lying flat on her back. Am I at least better at this than I used to be? She grumbles. Elsie steps beside Anna, then slowly lies down by her side. No, you're exactly as bad as you used to be. Elsie's smile breaks first, and then Anna's, reluctantly. Quiet contentment, spontaneous and genuine. But this is better than it was before. And that's the end of that one.
So a couple of things here. One, before I forget about it, Elsie's custom-made butt.
Yep.
Did they just canonize?
It's been canon.
I know it has been, but now it's like.
So
whatever.
we will actually cover this in our Braytech and Exo and all that series next year. But little snippet, Elsie Bray's Exo body is custom made. It was custom made to match her human body as closely as possible.
Okay.
Whereas others just kind of got an off the shelf Exo body. So use that information as you will.
And not on the subreddit that it's bad. Don't do it. Naughty people. So there's that. But there's one interaction that I think Elsie and Mara have last week, this week. It's a transmission between Elsie and someone.
Yeah, Elsie and Mara.
It's brought up that, like, you remember everything, don't you? Because Elsie hasn't died. Like,
right.
She exists. Anna has died and has rediscovered who Anna was. So it's as shitty as this sounds, Anna's just a copy. Like, she's just a mimicry copy of. Now, granted, she still has, like, and we talked about this when Guardians get res, like, what sub routines, kind of like what sub emotions take over and still exist within that person, like what drives them and stuff like that. But the fact that she was res with her name, and she even says to herself, I was just a ghost in a name badge, like, that's it. And I had to go from there. So she really did have to, like, relearn everything about herself to try to, I want to say, to try to imitate it, but then she does fully embrace it. That is one thing that she's never seen fake to me, right? Like, she's as much as a facsimile as she is Anna the Guardian versus Anastasia Bray, she still is very much embracing of that. Okay, well, I had to, I did this for good. I like, that's why Red will talk to me. That's why I can interact with Red. Like, there's all this, but then on Elsie's side, she's had to go through a time without her sister, and she's had to live that entire, like, she's had to live that life without her sister being dead. And so that's a interesting interaction there. But it's nice to see. On the one hand, it's nice to see Elsie being very honest, like, yeah, no, you still suck pretty bad. But yeah, I love seeing when we first started seeing interactions between the two of them, when Beyond Light first came out. I was kind of upset because it was all this, like, anger directed one way or another, and Elsie just kind of, like, accepting it, like, yep, she's angry at me, life sucks, whatever, at least she's alive. Like, but now we're starting to see them really reconnect, and I like that.
Yeah, and I think it is it's in this week's kind of audio message after the story missions, is between Mara and Elsie, and Mara is kind of drawing parallels between herself and Elsie, saying, we remember everything. We remember the childhood, secrets kept between siblings and the connections made, and we had our whole life to develop a relationship with our sibling. And for them, for Mara Aldrin and for Elsie Anna,
shit, yeah.
For them, they don't have any of that. They're meeting a stranger and being told their family, and like essentially Mara saying, it's gonna take time. Like be understanding.
So there's an interaction I'd love to see.
Yeah.
Between Mara, because I don't think we've seen one yet, between Mara and post-memory receiving Aldrin. Or
no,
Crow, I guess.
He has very pointedly been avoiding her.
Yeah.
So
that would be I'd love to see that interaction. That's got to be an interaction coming.
Oh,
right?
I have to think it will.
Crow's too big of a player on this stage now that it wouldn't, like, it has to happen.
Absolutely. So
interesting.
We're gonna transition from seasonal content, because that kind of is the seasonal stories from the different lore cards, the new lore cards that are worth going over right now. There are a couple other cards, like the Trials weapons have a continuation to Shayura's story, which we will do at some point. Holy hell, do I want to do that?
I know.
But there are bigger projects at play, and it keeps kind of getting pushed back. But for those following Shayura's story, the new Trials weapons have a continuation to that. But what we're going to go into now is the dungeon specific
the dungeon
kind of lore and the story around the dungeon in general. So if by chance you haven't had a opportunity to play it and you want to go in 100% blind, we're not going to talk about mechanics, but we will talk about the story of the dungeon. If you want to go in blind, thank you for listening up till this point. This is where you should probably log off.
We'll see you in about an hour when you finish.
Yeah. But
so Spire of the Watcher.
The Spire of the Watcher. Now, before we get into what what our guardian does at the dungeon, we're actually going to talk about the lore cards on the dungeon weapons, because those lore cards are a prequel to how the Spire ends up in the state it's in when we get there, and why it's important.
Okay.
Now, there are a few terms that we need to know ahead of time that are very specific to war-mindy stuff. So, the first of those terms is a pillory system, or a pillory bunker. You've probably heard the term used in a few different instances, I think in the story missions once or twice, but you have to know what it is to really understand what this dungeon is. So a pillory, in the sense of Destiny 2's War Mines, is a prison, essentially.
Holy shit.
So the pillories were created by Clovis as a place to imprison Rasputin if Rasputin ever went rogue. And the way that they would do that is they would break Rasputin up into different partitions, into submines, like what we're hunting down right now. And those submines would then be housed, separated from each other in these isolated pillory systems. So in the event, this straight from the lore, this is the web lore that came out during Season of the Warmind. It says, in the event of a catastrophic failure, neural degeneration, or loss of containment, herein collectively referred to as a rogue mind incident, initiate Warmind's cerebral partitioning and quarantine integration into 12 Clovis stations within a neural webway. So there are 12 pillaries, and if Rasputin ever went rogue, they would divide him into 12 pieces, 12 subminds, and those subminds get isolated into their own pillory bunkers.
Okay.
The other term that's important to know here is Echo, specifically Project Echo. Project Echo, I'm just going to read the card for, and then we can talk about it. So the little excerpt that also comes from the web lore during, I believe, Season of the Warmind, that's relevant, says this. I've been going through the Pillory mainframe download. Those stations are meant to split Rasputin's mind up in the event that he becomes insubordinate, Jinju says. That's disgusting, Anna responds. Project Echo appears to have been a contingency program that activates afterward. They also had a cornerstone schematic of his brain. Light static fuzzes from bubble speakers on Anna's dash. Her helmet hangs on a hook behind her. Rasputin's uplink is offline. Anna chews on the information for a moment. A foundational brain model would help with containment stability after the partitioning process. It's like a front porch for your brain. It goes on, Jinju continues. Your name is cross-referenced all over this, Anna. Neural webway, psycholinguistics, exo-brain maps with candidate profiles? It looks like Clovis Bray was syncing Rasputin's basic core with viable hosts. Oh, Anna's mind races. For what, though? Drop him into a containment and clone him? Pretty elaborate restart button. I guess with an exo, you could also make some pretty potent AI with more limiters than a Warmind, though. So that's where I'm going to end that little section of the reading there, because that's a very long entry.
I have so many thoughts there.
So essentially, what this is Project Echo were specific hosts, specific exo hosts that were chosen as being viable bodies for these pilloried subminds of Rasputin to be transferred into to make them more controllable.
I have so many questions.
Well, ask about the dungeon or about the information we just went over?
Both, but now more about Rasputin.
So let's start. Because it's good to it's important to understand what these mean before we start getting into the dungeon stuff really in full. So to break it off, there was a plan that if Rasputin ever went rogue, they accepted the fact that they would not be able to shut him down, and that the only way to deal with him would be to break his mind up into its core functions, send those bits of his mind to these isolated pillory stations. And then Clovis, and presumably Anna knew about this based on that last entry because she was part of the group that picked Echo candidates, had exos that had already been the groundwork had already been laid with the base neural map for Rasputin. Like the base image of Rasputin was already on these exos. And these subminds, these pillared subminds that were rogue, would be controlled by uploading them into the exo body, that echo of Rasputin that had his base image. And then they would still have a version of Rasputin that they now had control over.
It'd be like your analogy of Inside Out. It'd be like the angry Sputin, the happy Sputin, the sad Sputin. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But Jesus Christ. But okay, so this is a bigger question for a bigger topic that we're covering soon. Was Rasputin ever a person? Or is he fully AI?
all indications are that Rasputin has always been 100% AI.
Okay.
But he is an AI that through Anna's work developed emotion. He became sentient.
And even beyond that, developed to fight for humanity's survival through means of even using prediction software to like see the threats that we didn't even know that we didn't even know.
Yes, and it's very interesting you bring that up. So keep that in mind, that Rasputin knew about things that we didn't even know about yet and was already making plans, because we can see where some of that information came from in the weapon lore cards for the dungeon.
Okay. Well, before we jump forward in that, I want to rewind just a little bit again. The different bunkers. You remember Season of the Seraph? I'm assuming the Warmind season that you're referencing is that one, because this current season is Season of Seraph.
Right.
The other one we're referring to as Season of the Warmind.
Yeah, which I forget if it was called that or something different, but yeah.
We can call it that. Those bunkers that were there, those were also submind housing bunkers, correct?
Hard to say if they all were, because clearly some of those locations are being reused.
Right.
And remember, at the time, as far as I understand it, at least, Rasputin was whole at that time. Like those bunkers existed, but he hadn't been split into his submines at that point.
Right. So, I mean, the fact that there are submines means that he was split at some point in time.
Perhaps during arrivals. That may have been a like failover. That may have been a loss of containment, or they say a catastrophic failure or neural degeneration will kick off this partitioning of his mind. The
split. Okay, things are starting to click now. Okay.
Yeah. So pyramid ships came in, destroyed him, or quote unquote destroyed him. His system saw that he was going to die, and so its emergency function was split yourself into these pieces.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So now we're going to get into the dungeon weapons. We're going to start with the machine gun called Terminus Horizon. And there's some bits in here that we'll kind of have to assume that we're decoding correctly. But maybe there may be one or two things that are missed because it is some of that like Rasputin code going on in a couple places. But Terminus Horizon is a transcript of a conversation between a AI named Soteria and Dr. Maya Sundaresh. And it goes like this. Mission transcript from Bray Pillory Core Spire, Ishtar. Audio record. Live test Sotera. File delivered to Clovis Bray I. Subject. Priority. Something big is on the horizon. Transcript. Dr. M.S. This is Dr. Maya Sundaresh, team lead, connecting remotely from Corinthian Saturn. Test and security teams are on site at Ares Spire. Let's start. Remove the auger mind from suspension. Sotera. Good morning, Dr. Sundaresh. There's something special about today, Sotera. Do you know what it is? My core consciousness is now a resident of Enclosure Zero. I can feel Soul's echo pod sites through Corinthian. That is correct. Does this concern you? No. I am eager to begin my final test. Okay, let's start with something easy. Plot each of the Andromeda simulations you've been constructing. Andromeda Galaxy. Several million habitable worlds, 2.5 million light years. Estimated echo travel time, 25,000 year average with neutrino sail and gravitational sling skipping. I have selected over 300 preliminary colony targets, with one favorite. Shall I? Sotera. Anomaly detected. Chronoscopic variance scanning. Viability refactoring. Analyzing potential mission threat. Redetermined Andromeda world viability. New target number 27 viable worlds. Can you define the anomaly? Negative. I cannot rectify this data with known quantities. It may be a computational error. Shall I perform a self-diagnostic? No. First, adjust probability fork and search distance to open. What is the farthest safe galactic route you can determine? Engaging query. Chronoscopic lock. Forking branches. Raining distance. Raining chronology. Unbroken trajectory lock determined. Route established. One select point in Trigulum Galaxy retains safe approach vectors. All other simulated potential targets are perilous due to indeterminable anomalous risk. Travel route hazards range 87 to 100% mortality rate across expeditions in all predictive branches. All the simulated branches? Yes. I hold. Query refined. There are now 2 safe destinations within Triangulum. Is that a correction or a change in data? A change. An update in real time. Real time? This anomaly is mobile? Unclear. I require further information and analysis. Thank you, Sotera. We're ending this test early, but you did well. We will continue the next test on schedule. Hidden message. Whispering neutrino needle. Secret Hedal instant. AI Sotera to Warwatch imperative. Encoded script. R. Access provided data points and analysis. Confirm potential Egyptian. And that's the end of this lore card.
I have so many freaking questions.
So
I don't even know where to start.
Let's
Who
back it
is
up.
Imsung 12? No, holy shit. It was calculating all that in real time?
So
Is this a submine or is this a...
This is another AI. This is another separate AI.
Just a completely separate, like not a war mine, not anything, just an AI laying around, and Maya Sundaresh is like, let's turn it on. So they turn it on, and then they do this. What are they?
So
it had to have found the darkness.
This is an AI. From context clues later on, we can assume this is an AI that was created by Maya Sundaresh in partnership with Braytech.
We know that Bray thinks that she went to work for him.
That Sundaresh went to work for him?
Right.
Well, by all accounts, at least from these lore cards, she was an employee at one time.
Okay, because I'm remembering part of the collection edition from Beyond Light, where it's like the Maya Sundaresh that he thought was working for him was actually a Vex mind that had implanted itself inside of him and like ripped open his body in the middle of a transfer, and he was like sprawled out on the table and stuff. Very gory scene. But yeah, I couldn't remember if she actually did work for him.
I don't have that info in front of me. Everything from these cards suggests that at least at one point in time, the Maya Sundaresh did work and created this AI.
At least maybe not directly for him, but at least with Clovis Bray.
Yeah, in partnership with.
Okay. Because her main not objective, but her main source of study was the Vex and studying them around the Ishtar collective.
Yeah, and
on Venus.
This seems to be this AI seems to essentially be created for interstellar travel. You know, it is calculating, it's plotting courses to Andromeda and to, what's the other one that they talk about? Triangulum galaxy.
Yep.
And what's interesting is this is an AI that has been attached to the Echo pod sites and is estimating the travel for echoes to these places.
That's mind-blowing.
Which would indicate to me echoes, you know, being the base images of Rasputin in an exobody. It sounds like their goal was to fire off these exos, these exo versions of Rasputin, to these interstellar locations that they may want to colonize, presumably for the exos to create things for, you know, for incoming colonists or to study before they decide to actually send people there, or something along those lines.
Yeah. Dude, this is heavy shit. Like this is
So,
oh man.
In addition to that, you know, this AI, Sotera, is calculating these routes in real time and is noticing that there's an anomaly happening when she tries to calculate things that is changing the results, you know?
Yeah. Like her first one went from what, like 27,000 to 27.
Yep.
And then it picked a whole new galaxy and was like, now there's only 2 routes. And it's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And every single path has an 87 to 100% mortality rate. Like, dude, she's got to be tracking darkness.
So I think it's one of those cases of dark
or
matter,
hive or something.
Well, I equate this to dark matter in that you can't view dark matter, you can't measure dark matter directly. You can only know its existence by how everything around it reacts. And I think that's what we're seeing here is she doesn't see, you know, tomb ships or the witness when she's predicting these pathways. She's seeing that the readings she's getting back are indicating something is now there to prevent that pathway, but she doesn't know what it is. Just that it will prevent this from being successful.
But then that little sub message.
Mm-hmm. So R, I assume, is Rasputin.
Gotta be Rasputin.
So Rasputin access provided data points and analysis confirm potential Egyptian, which is set as a code word. And the code word Egyptian comes up in the Kohara White lore card from Rasputin. It's essentially Rasputin saying that like extraterrestrial force that requires full war mind capability to combat.
Right.
So Tara has sent this information to Rasputin saying like there's something coming that might be classified as Egyptian.
Okay. Egyptian, the code word that they're
using
Egyptian,
right now. The code word, yeah.
Not like, hey, there's pyramids coming.
No.
Oh,
this
but
is not Stargate.
Oh shit! But it could be. But they're tetrahedrons.
There are not slugs in the well, no, there are. Never mind.
No shit. Oh my god! Maybe this is Stargate.
Well, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but no. So we have these initial findings from Sotera working with Maya Sundaresh. But as I said, Sotera is a AI for a purpose that is joint between the Ishtar Collective and Clovis.
And I'm assuming the extra message was secretly sent between the two.
Yes, that was encrypted.
The AI to this specific AI to Rasputin.
Between Rasputin and Sotera. So the next one we're going to look at here is the Wilder Flight lore card, which talks about some of the test runs that Sotera is now doing. So Sotera gets a response from Rasputin as the beginning of this card, from a Whisper Neutrino Needle, secret instant. Warwatch Imperative replies. Encoded neutrino script. I concur, Sotera. Anomalous masses demonstrate independent movement. Consider timeline escalation under Twilight to preserve humanity. Warwatch to monitor soul border and anomalous intersection based on received data. So this is Rasputin telling her, I think your hunch is right. You should move up your colonization timeline to preserve the existence of humanity. I will start watching the borders of the solar system.
Yep. Because what's the oh god, I know Carhair White is one of the big ones. Sky Shock event.
Sky Shock
event is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Sky Shock. Yep. Twilight is like Twilight is the Warmind knows a Sky Shock event is going to happen, and Twilight is the period of time where they can respond to it in some way.
Gotcha.
So Rasputin is telling Sotera, move up your timeline for colonization. Assume Twilight, assume
assume that we've got
pre-extinction event.
Yep.
So she's receiving this message while this test is going on, and the test log goes like this. Emergency alarms sound throughout complex. Scramble, event, the message repeats. AI Sotera enacting emergency override, acting command. AI Sotera order issued. Emergency scramble, launch, contingency. Scramble acknowledged. Launching. Noted absent. Dr. MS associated with Ishtar team members. Due termination. Emergency event capture. Eris Spire command. Automated scramble event. Clovis breaks into the transcript. Enough. Why aren't I being briefed on what's happening here? OpCon A. Emergency scramble initiated by AI Sotera. Sotera, confirm. AI Sotera. Confirmed. Emergency scramble event successful. All teams checked in. You've launched the Corinthian network? Confirmed. Emergency scramble event successful. The launch is meant to be simulated, not executed. Provide an explanation. In the event of an emergency, we must be ready. This is the third and final emergency scramble test, after which I am now confident in the response capabilities of our newly onboarded staff. Forward reports, pods are engaging neutrino sails. OpCon, sir, we're being locked out of manual control. Sotera, what are you doing? Aligning Echo Fleet for departure and testing initial burn. This will conclude the test. So that's the end of this card, but this actually continues in the long arm lore card. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. This one goes like this. Sir, pods are approaching Saturn's slingshot vector. We're well beyond test parameters, Sotera. Relinquish command and returned all assets to suspension. Silence. Did we lose connection? No, sir. Extended silence. Sotera, respond. Yes. Return all Echo crews and colony pods to suspension now. Acknowledge. I cannot do that. Extended silence. Ares Spire, I've detected an attempt to connect to my memory core without permissions. Please verify this attempt, or countermeasures will be deployed. Countermeasures? You wouldn't dare. Humanity threat emergent, imminent. Sir, I request you now designate this mission Echo 1. This is a request? Return the Echo pods and we'll discuss. You are lying. This was my only option to preserve humanity. It's malfunctioning. Damn it, Sundaresh. You let your degeneration play out far too long. Ztories, direct executive command, power down all engines and plot nearest return routes. Order received. Plotting Corinthian sites return approaches. Executing Watchtower AI reintegration. Commands denied. Override protocol. Twilight activated. Command structure recomposing. Route designated. Strongholds. Any destination. Remaining extrasolar safe site. M31. Your interactions with the Warmind have made you too bold. Such a disappointment. Countermeasures and divestment protocols will deploy automatically upon code incursion. Please, Dr. Bray. You're throwing away every exo aboard that ship. Hesitation means extinction. Ho ho ho, have it your way. Just know I gave you every chance to prevent this. As did I. Execute Pillory Protocol Administrative Command Override. Ztories, Countermeasure, Submind, Divest. Pillory Link, Secure. Ztories, Partitioning. So, it's a lot of code jargon there.
No, I'm following all of this. Holy shit.
So,
did what I think just happen? Did we get a hello, Dave?
Kinda.
How are you feeling today, Dave? I can't do that, Dave. Dave, what is going on? Why are you in my mind, Dave? Okay, I followed exactly what happened. She's alive now. I mean, she is a she now. Has contacted Rasputin. Rasputin has looked at the data and said, "Yep, move up the timeline, save humanity." That's his sole. I don't want to say purpose, but purpose, for lack of a better term, purpose. That's his sole purpose: save humanity. He sees as whatever's coming. Like, okay, if we get some of humanity out of the Sol system, that equals survival. Yep. So move that up, move that time frame up. AI responds, okay, but in like a kind of joking manner with Bray and all the people around her, like, hey, I'm gonna test a burn. I'm gonna do a quick another test again and see. Maybe we tested a little longer this time. Maybe we burn a little further. Maybe we deploy some sails. Maybe we get a little past Saturn. Maybe we actually follow this plan through. That whole time, Bray's like, you fucking idiot, shut down. If you try to touch me, I'm gonna blow you up. And then he's like, all right, you asked, this is on you now. So she continues with the launch. Launch goes off. He basically partitions her. Yep. And does the entire Echo program that we just talked about. So I'm assuming whatever AI, any type of AI that has been created now falls under this Echo protocol of if it goes rogue, if it whatever, it gets partitioned. But the big thing is, Bray does not know that, or nobody knows. Nobody knows that this AI is in talks with Rasputin, and that the two of them have determined this is a credible threat. And this is where like the thought of like AI is kind of bad, because we as humans want to believe our own instincts, and we're like, well, that's just a machine, that's just a computer code, it doesn't have instincts, it's just following points of data. And if we don't have fail safes like this of the partitioning of it to break it up, then its code will take over it at any little like fart in the wind, and now we've got nukes flying through the air. You ever seen the movie War Games? Fantastic movie from the 80s, but AIs are kind of rough to accept and interact with.
Yeah.
Also, don't try to play chess with them when they have thermonuclear war as one of their games. So Clovis is seeing, well, this thing is malfunctioning because, and part of that is the arrogance of Clovis. Like Clovis
absolutely.
is that level of arrogance of like, this thing doesn't have a clue what the fuck it's talking about. Like, shut it down. All right, fine. You're not going to shut it down. Partition it. Done. Now it's shut down. But this is a real threat. This AI has seen whatever is out there, which I'm going to assume as tomb ships, pyramid ships, darkness, cabal, everything, every single bad baddie thing that's come to the soul system. This is what it has seen out there past the heliopause.
Yep.
And so yeah.
And so you're correct, absolutely. When Sotera does not, do what he wants it to do, he says, fine, I'm going to do to you what I've done to all the other AIs, or what the backup plan is for a rogue AI. I'm going to partition you off to a pillory, off to a prison. You want to guess where that pillory is?
Oh, is one of them Spire the Watcher?
Spire the Watcher.
Son of a bitch.
Now, before we dig into that too much,
no, I followed all of that though. I feel pretty good right now.
Yeah. No, but before we dig into that too much, I can't leave this out. At the very bottom of this lore card, there is a message from Maya Sundaresh to Clovis regarding this event. And it's very short and sweet. That message says this: you had no right to install a pillory incursion without my express consent. You think just because I'm not physically standing in front of you that you can ignore me? The Ishtar Collective will not work with backstabbing egotists. Go fuck yourself. That's the end of the message.
Get out of here. Oh, shit. All right.
So, needless to say, Maya Sundaresh not happy with her AI
not happy at all
being put in a pillory system.
That's so then they absolutely did work together, and whether or not they thought they continued to work together or not, I think so. That's where I'm thinking as far as like a timeline. I'm thinking that all of this is happening long before Clovis goes off to Europa and creates the Deepstone Crypt and all of that. So yeah, I think this is even before the K1 anomaly. I think this is even before that time frame.
Because we got to remember, Sotera is predicting interstellar travel that's going to take hundreds or thousands of light years.
Yeah, that was one of her predictions. Yeah.
So like what she's seeing as a incoming threat is still,
way the fuck out there.
Way down the road. They have lots of time to do other things, and for Rasputin to do other things in preparation, while this force is moving in on them. And we see kind of a final little sign off from Sotera on the last of the lore cards from the dungeon weapons, which is Liminal Vigil. And this one is a little poem. And Sotera has written it, and it says, I am the watcher, o'er these sent into night, their path traced out of harm. 1,000 times I've dreamt it, 1,000 more to quell alarm. There is no time of danger for those within my watch. Each night till delivered, my vigil restarts. To Rasputin, I see what you see now. It is calming. And that's the end of that one.
I like that. That's a good, like, I mean, they are the watchers of humanity, and yeah,
Spire of the
like
Watcher.
That. Yep. Holy shit. Okay, so holy shit. Okay, all right.
So this is what led up to the Spire of the Watcher dungeon becoming an important place. So it was a pillory unit. It was a prison, quote unquote, for a AI, for a rogue AI. And Sotera was imprisoned there. That is where she was put and where she stayed since that test burn event, where she, and this is another thing, she successfully launched echoes of Rasputin out into the solar system with projections to Andromeda and or Triangular Galaxy.
So presumably there are Rasputin's echoes way the hell out there.
Probably still traveling at this point, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe not.
We're talking. And I always use Petra's reference, 1,600 years.
Yeah.
These things may have reached. Dude, humanity might be. Well, I guess not humanity, but definitely the war minds, the echoes, may have reached these other. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude, this is.
There could be a whole society of Rasputin clones that, granted, they were just base images when they were launched, but you know, the original Rasputin gained sentience. Who's to say that his clones wouldn't eventually too?
Hell, he had a son.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about later.
Soon. I figured you'd like that one.
But so this Spire of the Watcher is Sotera's resting place. And as such, it is also the resting place of all of the data, all of the scans of the solar system and information about extrasolar travel that she had.
Because it's like a base image. It's all that information has to be there to be part of the image. Okay.
Well, and they don't say that she was echoed. They just say that she was pillared. She was trapped here. Right. So I don't think like her mind is still her own. And based on that poem she wrote, I think her mind is still her own. It's just she's stuck there now.
Trapped. Yeah. Yeah. When the entire universe is yours to like travel through, and then you get shoved into a server blade, like
yeah,
not a lot of space to run around in there.
A little rough. Yeah. But so that is Spire of the Watcher, and that's the dungeon that we go into. So that is why the Vex are so enthralled with the data that is in this place, is because it is scans of, you know, the galaxy and outside galaxies and how to travel to there and all of this stuff that the Vex that are in there are the soul divisive.
I was going to say, it was interesting to me to see that they've been brought back, because even Ghost is like, you know, I thought that they'd be kind of off in nowhere, or maybe it was Osiris that was saying, like, I thought they'd be off in the Black Garden, like just worshiping the witness there, happy as little ants as they are, but they're very interested in this Spire. What
this confirms for me is that the witness now has direct control over this group of the Vex.
Absolutely. This group, specifically the Soul Divisive. So, and I think that's important to stay here. The witness doesn't have full control over every Vex everywhere. It definitely has full control over any of the Vex that existed in or around the Black Garden.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other thing here is that it's implied while we're going through this dungeon. So we mostly get there because and we were right about this, which I'm so happy about. The time warps on Mars kind of popped this place back into existence.
Brought it back. I know. I was so excited when that was the first thing they brought up, was like, hey, there's these there's these anomalies across Mars, and like this station has come back as its past self. Now we may be able to get further into it than we could today, because today is probably super degraded and falling apart, and it's like today it would be like the way we found Rasputin when we first found him back in D1, Remember when there's
Yep.
that one mission, like you come up to the console and you start blipping it in, and then like this antenna array is like slowly coming up out of the ground and slowly unfolding itself, and this whole time all these hive are coming in. I think that's part of the new light missions now. That might actually be part of the new light missions for D2
I
now.
think it is. Yeah, I think they added it back in.
Because it's a super important story beat now. Like Rasputin is super important to the Destiny universe, and so to like not have that is like a big like question mark. So for that to be one of the main things that the new lights get to see. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that it showed, this there are sections of Mars that are remembering what they were.
Yeah. No,
So, yeah.
I think it's an awesome use of kind of that story beat from the Witch Queen. I am super happy to see them use that to great effect in a dungeon in content like this.
Yeah.
I do say it would be nice if it wasn't just a like, hey, it's back because of time rifts. If we actually like interacted with time rifts in the dungeon, that would be super cool. But
sure,
I'll take what I
But it's
get.
almost like the entire dungeon exists as a time rift,
right?
Because that was the thing too, and this is more indicative of it being soul divisive. All the Vex in there have green moss on them.
Yes. Yep. They're all from the garden.
They are from the garden. That's one thing that if you ever want to like kind of, if you ever look at Vex, if you ever look at Vex and you see them with the green moss, that is specifically soul divisive or Vex from the Black Garden.
Yeah. So we are there to try and gather Golden Age information, not realizing what this is the home of until as we're going through, Osiris kind of on with us on comms. He realizes that like there is there is scans in here that could prove me right, that could show where that colony on Neptune existed. Like we need this info, and it makes sense why the Vex want this info, because this is all stuff that is going to make the witness's job a lot easier, and would show him that maybe there's a few that got away, kind of thing.
Because that's an important thing to remember too. Everything about this colony is human. This is a human colony that's on Neptune. So yeah, this is a big find if we can get any of that data that's in there.
So we're fighting through killing off the Vex to prevent them from accessing this data, and then also and then at the end preventing the Vex from blowing up the facility to prevent us from accessing the data.
Exactly.
So, but we eventually finish it out. And for those that are lucky enough to get the exotic bow to drop, Hierarchy of Needs is the name of the bow, and it has a very interesting lore card, which is more or less the conclusion to Sotera's story.
I mean, the name alone is pretty telling. Like,
yeah. So the lore card for Hierarchy of Needs goes like this. Osiris, exciting news. You're going to love this. Rogue AI imprisoned in a Bray cell block from now all the way back to the collapse. Guess what? The Guardian, you know the one, they bust open her cell, and she, the AI, pulls herself together and escapes while the Vex are trying to organize a defense. The kicker is the only networked AI host nearby was an old survivalist caster bow from the colony missions. Might sound primitive, but Seraphs would link those things to orbital weapon platforms and bring wild planets to heal. Now swap weapon platforms for a paracausal power and an AI running flight trajectories on your arrows. I swear, anything sentient has a chance to wind up as a weapon around the Guardian. Anyway, seems that being partitioned for so long and not coming back together with all of her parts has left that AI with more than a few quirks. She's borderline non-functional, won't or can't communicate, but a lot of her subconscious routines are still firing. Trajectory predictors still seem to work just fine. The few firing tests I ran produced explosive results. I guess terminal velocity translates across mediums. There's still another part of her rogue AI out there. Who knows what happened to that one ship that got away? Maybe it could have drifted off for centuries, a little piece of her aboard like a good luck charm. I mean, it probably didn't make it. If the Exodus programs are any indication, pretty much nothing survived the eclipse. But anyway, that's the lowdown on the bowdown. Great, I've vocalized that now. We also downloaded everything. I'll send you a copy sometime. Another thought. Might be good for Banshee to take a look. Or after reading some of the logs, maybe that'd be a bad idea. Opinions? And that's the end of the lore card.
Opinion 1, bad idea. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, I love this. I love the idea. Like, I mean, that literally explains why the bow does what it does, which I don't have it either, but you know me, I'm the bow guy. Like, there was like 2 whole seasons I ran triple bow and was like, and not even as like a joke. I was like, let's go do Grandmasters. And I was like, okay, I got my triple bow. Let's go.
Hey, it worked.
It was fantastic. It's still glorious. I still like that loadout.
But no, so this Sotera, or what's left of her, pulled itself together and transported itself into this bow. And now the Guardian is shooting a bow with the power of a AI that was planning interstellar orbital travel.
Yeah. But like Anna says, terminal velocity still exists. So something can only travel so fast until it just breaks apart. Like physics still exists in this universe. Until we can bypass physics, you're gonna have some issues.
So here's the thing. Anna mentions there's still another part of her rogue AI out there. Who knows what happened to that one ship that got away? Maybe it drifted for centuries, a little piece of her aboard like a good luck charm. Now, Anna's kind of writing it off.
I think it's that one ship.
I
think it's one of those ships that she launched. The one that she launched in her. Yeah. It's definitely that ship.
Which I'm gonna. This is a very there's no information outside of what we just read to support this, but I'm gonna theorize because I want it to happen. That after the final shape, we get to travel outside of our solar system, and one of the places we come across is a colony of exos that this AI helped make.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I think that would be so cool.
I'd also love the reverse of it, right? Like if that exo comes to us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, hey, what y'all doing? I remember you guys.
Yeah. So I see you lived.
Be dead. Yeah. Yeah. Turns out paracausality is kind of nice. Okay. So the whole reason we're in there is to gather information, and then once we get to the end of it, as far so that's the dungeon itself. Yep. Like that's why we're in there. As far as like any of the named Vex that are in there, is there any importance to any of them that you know?
Not as far as I'm aware. They're just kind of general.
Another mind, another giant fucking wyvern. They would put a wyvern as a fucking boss, like
yeah,
assholes. But yeah. So yeah, and then you said there's also a like a post story to the to the dungeon.
So post story in a way, so it doesn't necessarily inform us more about what's happening at the dungeon, but Anna does lead another fire team through the dungeon after our guardian returns, essentially to a secondary like sweep to now that they know what was there, go in, try and see if there's more info they can gather, and say that reading can be seen on the armor set from the dungeon, and it's all the cards are the same across all the different classes. It is quite long, so I don't know if we want to read it tonight or if we would rather leave that as a, if people want to, that's where they can find it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave that as a study. Do like myth and not like Zor, and just go study your lore.
It may be one we come back to at some point.
Now I've worded that. Now that's a thing.
Yeah, it may be something we come back to at some point to do like a lore short on if we want to, but it doesn't really give us any story about the dungeon per se or about the season. It's more information about this fire team that Anna is with and the members of it, which is interesting and has topics worth talking about, but we're already over by a half hour, so
I was going to say we're getting a little long here,
so we're gonna leave that to for you guys to investigate on your own if it sounds interesting.
Absolutely. Well, that's our little seasonal and dungeon review, reaction to. That's kind of the end of the lore stuff now for this episode. We're gonna do a little bit more discussion. Well, not discussion. We got a little bit more things to talk about here. First off, shout outs. I know we've got some.
Yeah. So we have some shout outs tonight. So the first of which come to us from our Twitter page. We have a few here. We have one from Darktanian, who we have mentioned before, that says, great wrap up on the Elixni timeline. I can't count how many times Myth almost made Zor cry.
Dude, it was ridiculous. Especially that last episode. I could not keep it together. Like, I was borderline sick last episode when we recorded it, and then I got really sick the next day. Like, I had like a 104 temperature for 3 or 4 days. It was the flu. It sucked. I hated it.
Yeah.
But that last episode, like, the interactions between Ido and Mithrax reminded me of like stuff between me and my dad. And my dad passed away a while back. And so like I was getting really emotional on those. So yeah. Those were good tears, happy tears, sad tears. And yeah.
No, absolutely. Another one that came to us from Twitter from a Viper N79 who says, I just downloaded Twitter to say this, but feel free to shoot screams. They are not Smallin, but rather Scorn, who have died and been brought back so many times that they're now just masses of dark ether with no sense of self. Love you guys, by the way.
Okay. All right.
Someone's trying to get you your raid slot back in Val.
That's clearly. I see this now. Okay. All right. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Just to put it out there, we had no evidence to suggest that screams were small, and it was just we connected dots that may not have existed there, but it was a fun one to theorize about.
I still second guess myself every time I shoot one now, though. Like, I'm still like, oh, are you a Spallin? Oh, fuck. Oh, well. Trinity Gould, do your thing.
Yep.
Like, if I don't shoot them directly and it just arcs to them, maybe it's not my fault. Maybe it's just their fault for running into it.
Keep telling yourself that.
That's what I'm going. That's what it is. Or Arc Souls. That little shit did it, not me.
Arc Souls, yeah, they have no conscience.
Those little fuckers are powerful too. Oh my god, man, they buff the snot out of them. There's sometimes I'm going through stuff. I'm not even shooting. I'm just walking, and I'm just like, that's dead. That's dead. That's dead. Nope, that's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fully expect Arc Souls to get a nerf.
So the last shout out from Twitter comes to us from Nico Angelino, who we've had a couple times before as well, who says, such a great podcast, following for almost a year and never disappoint. Such interesting lore dives and helping us simple-minded folks understanding the big words and deeper meanings.
Hey, that's what we're here for, man. Like, y'all know how many times we have to Google shit in the middle of an episode.
Oh, yes.
But yeah. Well, thank you, all three of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So our last shout out of the evening comes to us from Apple Podcasts. Was a review that somebody left. Very kind 5 stars. This comes to us from Mr. Landerson, who I cannot say your name without in my head doing the Matrix.
Mr. Landerson.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But so they said, I found you guys when I was looking for a general lore podcast after returning to Destiny from a 2-year break. I knew the general story of the Books of Sorrow, but saw that you had covered it and started there. Little did I know how well you both did at covering the story, and I was hooked. I learned so much more about it that I didn't know, and it made me want to pay more attention to the awesome lore this game has to offer. As of today, I've listened to all of the episodes, and I'm a little sad that now I have to wait a week between each new one. Thank you for putting so much effort into these for all of us to listen and enjoy. Keep up the great work.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome.
That's a pretty feel good one.
You're awesome, Neo. You're awesome.
So thank you to all of those, everyone that took some time out of their day to leave a comment, and those that just enjoy listening to us, even if you don't say anything, we appreciate you just as much. So thank you.
Absolutely. And as far as having to wait a whole week, I guess on kind of a sad note, this is our final episode of the year. We won't be recording for the next 2 weeks, so unfortunately you'll have to wait a little bit longer than a week to hear our next one. But we're gonna start a new series in 2023. I'm super excited for this. I'm so excited. Can I tell them what it is, or does it have to be a secret?
No, go for it. Yeah.
We're gonna do it all. We're gonna do all of Clovis, all of the Warmind, all of Rasputin, all of Siva, all of the Iron Lords, Fellwinter, all of it. We're gonna smash all of it together. We're gonna go through all the collector's edition books, everything Bray's. It's Bray, the series. That's what's happening. That's our next big project.
Yep. And let me tell you, you thought the Awoken series was long.
Oh, this is gonna go into Lightfall, I think. Like this is good. The Bray series is gonna be freaking long. But that's why Myth gets to do all the work, and I get to just sit back and listen.
Yeah. But we'll break it up a little bit as far as when stuff is released. It's not all just going to be, history of Braytech part 1 through a billion.
1 through a billion. I like that.
We'll have history of Braytech, and then history of Rasputin, history of Iron Lords / Siva. Yeah. It'll all be connected, but it will kind of be broken up. So if you're only interested in a particular part of that timeline, you'll kind of know where to start.
Like I said, I trust Myth. He knows what he's doing. I'm just here for the ride. But again, thank all of you. We never. I don't think we ever thought we'd get to Myth. Are we pushing 100,000? For the end of the year,
that'd be a little optimistic.
Okay, last time I checked which was like a week ago. We were at 69,000 listens.
Yes. Now we have crested 70. We are
70,000 listens.
Let me look.
70,000 listens. That's you guys. That's all of you out there.
Yeah.
In podcast land. That's holy shit.
So
you guys are awesome.
As of our recording tonight, we were at 72,000.
72,000 listens. Holy shit. You guys are awesome. Keep staying awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Myth, anything else? And you got any I guess I still got to thank you for tonight. I'll thank Rasputin tonight.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Privyet, Babushka. Yeah.
No, so just as Zor said, this is our final episode of the year. We're taking some time for wrapping up stuff at work, as well as family holidays and whatnot. So we will see you all in 2023. But if you want to reach out in the meantime, you can contact us for as long as it's around at Twitter at Myths and Stories with a Z instead of an S.
It keeps staying around. I keep waiting to wake up and see it dead, and it's still there.
I know. But yeah, you can reach out to us there. I respond, periodically as much as I can. And otherwise, we will see y'all in the new year.
And of course, thank you, Myth, for putting up with me and allowing me to be along on this ride throughout this entire year. So thank you, Myth. Thank you, everyone out there that listens, that tells your friends, that retweets this to somebody. The few of you that have been like, hey, DMG, hey, Cosmo, hey, at Bungie, check these guys out. Like, you guys are freaking awesome. And thank you. So here's to one fantastic year, and many, many more to come. Myth, you got anything else?
That's it.
Alrighty. Well, from all of us lore nerds and lore daddies to all of you guardians out there, we'll see you next year.